So, ladies and gentlemen, today on Pulp Tales, we're taking a very quick look at probably one of the most beloved Gold Key Whitman series of the late 60s to the mid 70s. Now, we talked in our previous Pulp Tales about the Star Trek run in Gold Key, but today we're looking at another cult series, that ever popular and ever chilling Dark Shadows. Now, for those out there, all five of you who don't know what Dark Shadows is, it was an award-winning soap opera that dominated the airwaves in the mid '60s, the early '70s. Became a hit among, especially among teenagers and women of all ages, mainly because of David Selby and Jonathan Freed, who played, Quentin Collins and Barnabas Collins. The Barnabas Collins character was the vampire with a heart of gold, who was the most base of the success of the series, and it talked about, again, some of the gothic horror tropes of the series, but in this case it was more comic book, more supernatural, more expansive, a lot of ghosts and goblins and possessions and time travel, all the good parts where the show couldn't go, because the show did have time travel, but it didn't have the major swath of special effects that would be done now, where people would really be able to expand on that, the multiple plots of the book. Now, the main writer for the series at the start was D.J. Arneson, with the great Joe Certa as artist. Now, Arneson did most of the early writing, but it expanded over time to other talented writers, including Wallace Green, John Warner, Jerry Boudreau, Arnold Drake, a who's who of some of the best contracted writers for Gold Key at the time. But Serta was basically the main artist through the whole run, and what would the series was known for at first, of course, was the infamous Gold Key style of the photo covers, which was a mainstay for many of their TV and movie adaptations. But by the time we got an episode, number 8, with the infamous painted cover, which stands as probably one of the most iconic painted covers of the Dark Shadow series. They continued for several issues, and the painted covers were just excellent. They were to a level that were beyond artwork. Tremendous, thought were put behind the covers, even though the covers seemed to be more exciting than the plots of the comic inside. Now, there are some variations throughout the years, because Whitman had some of the imprint for a little while, which obviously same company, but still, and it lasted well into the mid 1970s, even though there was a collection of it that was published in 2012 for a $50 price tag. But most of the Dark Shadows comic books in near mint are tremendously valuable. Everything from 23 to the $500 range, and I've seen some PSAs go quite high. Like, for example, the first Dark Shadows with the infamous Barnabas, kind of posing cover. I've seen that go for at least 300-400 Canadian very easily. Now, some people ragged on the series because, again, it was typical Gold Key. Some people, didn't like the blocky artwork, and one published report amongst the Atomic Avenue, especially that famous website talks about comics, called plotting storytelling. But if you're, a 12, 13-year-old kid, we're used to House of Mystery and Twilight Zone comic book and Ripley's Believe It or Not, or all the Boris Karloff influence one, the Steve Ditko Carlton runs of the horror comics. It was what it was. Now, a lot of these comic books were the first I bought as a person who was getting into comics at a young age, 8 or 9 years of age. But Dark Shadows, I saw the comic book before I saw the TV show, and the comic books were really good, and the TV show was just as good. So, to all the Dark Shadows fans out there who are still, going strong 50 some years after the initial first episodes of Dark Shadows, the TV show, they look at these comic books with great fondness, because, again, it was a continuation. It was the youth aspects of the Dark Shadows fans that were celebrated with the comic books, Because if you were at a grade 6 or grade 7 education, it wasn't too over the top and it wasn't too infantile. It was just right. If you had a grade 6 or grade 7 reading level, which a lot of us have, it was perfect for the time. And back then, gold key 15 cents, 20 cents, 25, great value. Same price as Marvel and DC, but in a lot of the cases you're getting more for your money with the Dark Shadow style comic books for gold key and other ones like Twilight Zone and stuff like that. So in this flood, New Brunswick, we're asking people in Quebec and New Brunswick and Nova Scotia to watch out for the flooding. We wish you success in battling, which is getting to be a yearly tradition in New Brunswick. Too much rain, too much snow, changing times. And maybe just basically take it easy on the highway, keep an eye out for potholes, keep your eye out for maybe you can help people out, maybe in the Frankton area, put together some sandbags, especially downtown where my buddies Strange Adventures are provided some sandbag areas for the public. Please help out when you can, please volunteer. Again, we ask everybody to keep your stick in the ice. And this could be a momentous week as well. If the Toronto Maple Leafs beat Boston, that'll be their first playoff series win since I was in my 40s. Early 40s. It could be weird. Maybe you could do a Dark Shadows comic book just based on the legends of the Maple Leafs losing every year, horror filled anyway. So, again, hope this finds you well. Keep your stick in the ice.